was wondering, can you take us through what you think is behind just this falling out of favor of markets there in Manila?
Well, in fact, we've been, yeah, as you said, we've been seeing a lot of net foreign selling in our market. For 2020, we had about $2.65 billion of foreign selling. As of last Friday, we've already had 804 million of net foreign selling. But having said that, the volume of the Philippine market has been going up. We used to trade about 7.3 billion, $150 million a day in 2020. We're hitting now 240 million. So the irony is, in spite of the exit of the foreign investors, the volume of our market has gone up significantly. Obviously, the slack being taken up by the local investors, and more particularly the retail investors.
And you'll probably need a lot more interest, I would imagine. Hopefully that improves because, well, there's a big IPO that's coming and everyone's talking about in Manila. We're talking about Unissued. Just broadly speaking, what is the outlook for IPOs in Manila? Do you surpass what we saw last year in terms of transaction volume?
Well, for last year, we had about 2.14 billion in IPO for the whole year. Based on our actual applications we received and the two IPOs we had earlier, we forecast about $2.4 billion just for the first 6 months. So we're going to beat our 2020 actuals just for the first 6 months of the year.
Okay, and you're also looking at changing some rules here in terms of listings. Can you take us through some of that?
Okay, basically, we wanted to target more SMEs to list in our market. So we've relaxed the rules on the SME listing. We've taken out the profit track record requirement. We've also introduced just a sponsor requirement. We've benchmarked against a few of our regional peers, and basically we're going to be allowing listing in the exchange, provided a sponsor has really studied the company and is prepared to sponsor them for listing.
Where are we in the plans to allow short selling?
Okay, short selling has been in the pipeline for quite some time. We're just waiting for approvals from our regulators on 3 issues. Basically, the use of foreign collaterals for the foreign investors, the accreditation of the depository as the central security lending unit, and the use of the global master GIV's security lending agreement. So we're waiting for these approvals from our regulators. So we hope to get them early the second quarter. We've been following this up consistently.
Okay, you talked about the growing role of retail investors over there. Some would argue there's been a lot of speculation. How closely are you monitoring that activity? Are you concerned about it?
Well, we are concerned about it. We were making sure that all companies are up to date on their disclosures to the public. But really, in the end, we can't tell investors where to invest or what to invest in. All we can do is afford them the protection by making sure that there are adequate disclosures by the listed companies.
Right. There was a big issue related to that. I think it was last week. I think it's Abra mining. It does become an issue when you see trading in unissued shares. I understand that you guys are looking into that. Can you give us an update? Have you found anything?
Well, basically, we've given the company and its principal shareholders and officers up to this week to explain to us how that could have happened. Apparently, I mean, their stock transfer agent and the corporate secretary were not, we're not coordinating according to them. But we don't have, we know what happened, but we're trying to get to the bottom of how it happened.
Do you have a timetable in mind on when you want to see, I guess, some conclusion to this, and also, I guess, for shareholders and also for the markets? Do you want to see when this starts trading again, the stock?
Okay. Basically, what will happen is we've given them up to the end of this week to try to explain to us, and we propose some solutions for them to address the problem. If they're not going to be able to do that, I think, the listing the particular stock would not be helpful to the investors because they would get stuck in the, particular security. So if their present officers and owners are not able to address the issue, the SEC and PSE are thinking of looking for a white knight that could take over the company so that it could continue to be traded in the market.
Many moving parts, I believe, before we get to that point. But great to hear the update. The other thing we want to talk about here, and we talked about IPOs, and Tom was talking about short selling. I think it was back in November where you mentioned that you're looking to introduce more sector indices to the market, perhaps more ETFs. Do you have a firmer timetable of when perhaps investors might see those indices start to list and be available to investors?
Okay. Well, there are two indices that we target to launch in this year, 2021. We want to launch a mid-cap index and a high dividend yield index. So we're preparing for that. We hope to be able to launch at least a mid-cap by the third quarter and probably the high dividend yield by the fourth quarter. We're also preparing for an ESG index, but that's going to be for next year.
Just a final question. Do you expect the foreign flows that we've seen, of course, we've seen the outflows in the last few weeks. Do you expect that to start to reverse any time? What is the time frame, do you think, in terms of those foreign flows this year? Are you seeing any appetite returning?
So far, we have not seen any appetite. Like I said, foreign selling continues unabated. Like we have 804 billion as of last Friday. But hopefully, if we get our vaccination program, up and running and investor confidence in the Philippine economy returns, we hope to see a return of the, the foreign investors in the market.
And Mr. Monzon, final question then. I'm sure you've heard about the Spax craze. Is that something that we can, and you're all looking at, entertaining, perhaps being available in the Philippine market?
Well, the Spax issue, it's like the backdoor listing we have here. Well, in fact, what we're doing basically is we're tightening the rules on backdoor listing. So at the moment, I'm not sure if the Spax is something that, the local markets has an appetite for or we're interested in looking at.
Right. And the only difference between backdoor listing and Spax, of course, there is a slight regulatory difference. From your understanding, does regulation need to change for that to happen?
Well, yes, because basically in a backdoor listing, I mean, there's some regulations that are, going to cover the backdoor listed company. But for a SPAC, I mean, when the original owners incorporate, the processes for evaluating their, their company and their prospects, it's not really there because they don't know who they're going to be, merging with or joining with. So I don't see the SPAC, I guess, taking off in the Philippine market, not for some time, I think.